it is absolutely outrageous that Israel, that has been holding, besieging Gaza for close to 6 years now, 1.6 million Palestinian civilian refugees in Gaza with no way out, and now they're being bombed, assaulted from the air. So we're here to protest in solidarity with the people of Gaza. You know, you may think that this doesn't make a whole lot of difference our being out here. We are educating the people, and we're also standing in solidarity with the people in Gaza. The conflict is a settler-colonial conflict. Israel, as a Zionist state, is a colonial state. I don't think it's a religious conflict because, yes, the Israelis who are privileged are Jewish, but it's not a Jewish-Muslim thing. It's a colonial settler state. There are lots of Jewish people here in this crowd who are opposed to it. There are Israelis in this crowd who are opposed to what Israel is doing. So this is not a Jewish-Muslim conflict. This is a settler colonial state. Israel is a settler colonial state that wants to eliminate the indigenous population. It is not a religious conflict because, as I said earlier, look at all the Jews who are opposed to it. You can walk around and interview some of those Jewish people who will tell you that as Jewish people, Israel does not represent them. So it's not that. But also, I mean, the origins, there are books out there, they're not secret. It's not some kind of like hidden agenda. The early Zionist writings, people like Herzl and Jabotinsky, all of the early Zionist writers have written books about their vision for Israel, and those books are colonial projects. They speak of the colonization of Palestine. They speak of how to enter into a land that is already occupied and dispossess the indigenous people. It is a colonial project. What is happening now is the people are becoming more racist, more fundamentalist. Let's keep in mind that what is going on today is war crimes. What is going on, what Israel is engaging in the collective punishment of Gaza is a war crime. And on top of that war crime that's been going on for a while, there's also the assault that we are protesting. For me, it's very much tainted by the fact that the two sides happen to be two different religions. You know, if you're Jewish, you're within Israel and Palestine, you have certain privileges, and if you're not, you don't have them. But is it essentially and fundamentally a religious crisis? No. A religious conflict? No. It's a colonial conflict. It's a conflict of imperialism, of expansion, of militarism, and of racism. There are actually more Christian Zionists than Jewish Zionists. Numerically speaking, within the US, Christianity is much, much, much larger than Judaism in terms of millions, and more millions of Christians are Zionists. So Christian Zionism is a huge thing. So is religion being used to fuel the crisis, the conflict? Yes. But is religion at the root of it rather than used for it? No. Whether I speak of Christian Zionism or not, within Christianity there's a whole lot of churches who also denounce what's going on. Christianity has, the Palestinian Christians have issued the Kairos document, which is a document by Christians, for Christians, saying this cannot be done in the name of Christianity. So even as I speak of Christian Zionism, I want us to keep in mind that there are Christians who are also opposed to it, including here within the US. There are Christian churches who have chosen to divest from the occupation. But in addition to that, what do I say to these people? I mean, some of the most basic things, not that I believe in religious arguments, is do not kill, love thy neighbor. I mean, what kind of religion? Is it really reconcilable with religion to kill, which is what Israel is doing, to violate human rights? Is that compatible with religion? I don't know that anyone would want to say that's compatible with religion, to massacre, assault, violate human rights, dispossess people, ethnically cleanse people, starve people, murder people, assassinate people in the name of religion? I don't know.
My name is Michelle, and I'm one of the organizers of Students United for Equal Rights at the University of Washington. We're a new student group, and our approach is generally advocating for looking at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as one in which there are not two equal parties, but rather an occupier and an occupied. I think the source of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict really dates back from the Zionist movement and the origins of Zionism in the 19th century. So really and truly, I think the base of the conflict is on the theft of land and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from their native lands. And the situation continues to this day because the Nakba, or catastrophe of 1948, has not been solved. There has not been a just solution. And the just solution would be acknowledgement of the right of return for refugees, and ideally a situation in which everyone would be living together under an equal system. Because in the Zionist idea of a Jewish state, you cannot be Jewish and also democratic in the same state. Those are mutually exclusive. As for the role religion plays in the conflict, I think that is just something that people have developed in the 20th century. That's kind of an ahistorical approach to the conflict, because even the idea of Judeo-Christian values was established in the early 20th century. So this is not really a historical narrative. It's rather something that people want to, it's very monocausal, it's very easy to tap into. It's fundamental, I mean, Palestinians are Christian, they're atheists, there's Samaritan, which is an older form of the Semitic religion. You know, there's all sorts of Palestinians. It's not just a Muslim majority country, there's minorities within Palestine. This is fundamentally a conflict about human rights and over land. And as for interpreting religion as Islam is the more barbaric or more inherently violent, I think that's patently false, because any religion can be interpreted for anyone's benefits and to convey any argument. So fundamentally, this is an issue about human rights. And I think solutions in the conflict would be something we can do here is obviously educate ourselves using alternative media. Twitter has been a very good source, but also boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning corporations and companies that contribute or profit from the Israeli occupation. I really don't like using the religious lens on the conflict, while I think the majority of people who claim this 2,000-year-old conflict are Zionists or people who are uneducated, because Palestinians and Jews who had come over from Eastern Europe in the 1800s lived together peacefully and side by side. There's a history of coexistence in the Palestinian society and historically. So I think those are just false arguments. This is, you know, many Palestinians voice their support for a solution in which all Palestinians and all peoples can live side by side, regardless of their religion. So I really don't like using the religious angle, but I will say that Israel does monopolize the idea of a Judeo-Christian connection to foster support amongst Christian evangelicals in the United States. As I've done my research from working in Palestine and seeing the surrounding countries, I really think that a one-state democratic solution is the best solution, because it enshrines equality amongst all peoples and kind of removes this idea of Jewish ethnic superiority, which is, I think, the root of the conflict we have today. So, I mean, honestly, I think the majority of people can be persuaded to a one-state, because essentially we have a one-state already by the way things are operating. The fact that Israel controls the infrastructure, communications networks, etc. So ideally I would like to see a one-state.
We're working for self-determination for Palestinians and Israelis, so we're working to end the Israeli occupation of Palestine. So that includes the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. And so we're pushing the U.S. to end military aid until Israel ends its occupation and complies with international law and stops these kinds of war crimes. I think the best example is South Africa. So the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is what really, you know, putting the pressure from like other governments and from individual citizens, and boycotting Israeli products, boycotting, not divesting in companies that are profiting from the occupation. Like, I think that is what is going to put the pressure on Israel, because nothing else has worked. And I think once the economic pressure and we stop the military aid, then, I mean, the U.S. has the ability to end the occupation, but it's going to take a lot, like a huge popular movement, and I think the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is totally on the rise, and it's totally happening, and it's scaring. I mean, the Israeli government is so scared of it that they're outlawing the right to boycott against the state, which is like clear that we're making an impact with our movement, if that they're so scared that they're going to like make it illegal to take this action. So I think the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement is what's going to end the occupation. I mean, honestly, I don't think religion has anything to do with it. I think the Jewish people were traumatized through the Holocaust and through oppression throughout time. And so, you know, they were given this piece of land and took this piece of land, which came out of a place of trauma and being, like, you know, killed and sent out of other countries and being oppressed. And so they then are enacting this trauma on Palestinians. But actually, yes, it's not a religious conflict at all. It's a political conflict. And so, like, as a Jew, like, it tells me to be kind to the stranger. You know, I take things like that to mean that I need to work for justice, because that's what Jewishness is about to me. So I don't think it's a religious conflict. I think it's a political conflict, and it's a conflict over land and ethnic cleansing. Like, Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their own land, and unfair and unequal treatment. Israel's not a democratic state. I mean, these are things I think that we all hold dear as Jews, but some Jews have been, you know, don't understand what's actually going on in Israel, because we've all been brainwashed since birth that something, you know, that we need this land, that this land was ours and given to us, but when in fact it's actually not a religious conflict, it's a political conflict. If you're not Jewish, you are a second-class citizen, so you don't have the same rights. And so that's one of the reasons why it's not a democratic state. The other reason it's not a democratic state is because there's an illegal and immoral occupation going on. And so the people who live on the West Bank and East Jerusalem and Gaza Strip, as we can see by the recent bombings, they're being treated as, you know, much worse than the, like, Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship. But even if you have Israeli citizenship and you're Palestinian, you're being treated as a second-class citizen. So that's why it's not a democratic state. To have full rights, you have to be Jewish.
Free, free Palestine, occupation is a crime. 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 No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. No more pennies, no more dimes, no more money for Israel's crimes. got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. Hey, hey. Go home. That siege of Gaza has got to go. 2, 4, 6, 8. Stop the Israeli state. 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 2, 4, 6, 8. Stop the Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Occupation is a crime. Free, free Palestine. 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 Occupation is a crime. Netanyahu, you will see Palestine will be free. 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 Netanyahu, you will see